Let's face it, training at the range can get a little boring sometimes and pretty expensive. So what's a better way to kind of freshen things up and have a little fun than with a 22? Today we're running 3 different setups, a handgun, a semi-auto, and a bolt action precision rifle to really spice things up at the range, and testing this brand new 22 universal comp. At the end of the video, if you guys like what you've seen and you're interested in this universal compensator, go to herringtonarms.com. They are live on the site now. But now let's jump into this pistol. Jumping into the Ruger Mark IV, this is the host that we actually designed this compensator around, and then found out it works for a lot of other 22 or rimfire handguns slash rifles. This is kind of the go-to 22 pistol. There are a lot of higher tier premium handguns, and then there's some also not so great 22 handguns. I feel like this falls right in the middle. Ruger's been making these for a really long time, and there's a lot of people that have them. The Mark IV is a rather simple handgun. There's really not a whole lot going on with this. They did throw on a rail section though, so if you wanted to mount an EOTech or something silly on here. We talked about adding a enclosed emitter optic on here, but honestly, this gun's just kind of fun to plink with, so we opted to really not throw anything on here. There's a lot of things to be said about this handgun, and honestly what it comes down to is it just kind of works. We've had issues with a lot of other 22s in the past, and honestly I don't think we've had a single malfunction with this gun, so that says a lot. Ruger obviously knows what they're doing. This definitely has a traditional Luger style aesthetic, so if you're into that, this is a really fun handgun to plink with. You can shoot it really fast and shoot a lot of steel, and it would just be a really fun experience. What's great about this gun is it actually comes with a threaded barrel. A handful of the Mark IV series do. So this makes it easy to throw a compensator or a suppressor on here. This is a great suppressor host. It's incredibly quiet. It still cycles reliably. So it's perfect for that. If you're waiting on your can and you want to throw a compensator on here, you can see how fast I did that. It's incredibly easy to do this. We use an O-ring system for easy install and uninstall. There's not a lot of pressure on this system, so you don't need to over tighten it with a crush washer or anything like that. An O-ring works perfectly. And it's gonna give you a little bit more adjustability throwing this on a bunch of different 22 platforms. I've seen this handgun used a lot in the competition space with USPSA 22 divisions or just steel matches. And I've even seen people use it for protecting chickens against raccoons or coyotes. It's a great little varmint gun, especially when you throw a suppressor on there. So this gun can be incredibly versatile. You're gonna see it across the board with the other 2 guns we have. To put this in perspective for you guys, 22 ammo costs anywhere from 5 to 8 cents a round, where your typical 9mm is 30 to 40 cents a round, and 5.56 is, who knows at this point. It's always going up with 5.56, but typically, 50, 60, 70 cents a round for 5.56. So the price for 22 has always been substantially lower than those other cartridges that are so common in the United States. Another thing we didn't really talk about is how good 22 is for the prepper survival type situation. It's a very versatile round. Of course, it's not going to do as much damage as some of the other ones, but it's a great little round to have around. So now we talked about this handgun, we're gonna jump into the range portion and show you guys how much fun me and Jake have with this thing.
Hey guys, Jake with Herrington Arms. We got a little 22 course of fire set up here. This is very much a USPSA style type of stage. A lot of balance to speed and accuracy, lots of movement. We're out here at DSS. The stages are already set up, so I figure we utilize them. I'm gonna run the first go here, and then Corey's gonna have the second. I'll tell you what, the biggest thing that stuck out to me is iron sights. The entire time I was target focused, not front sight focused like you're traditionally supposed to be with iron sights. Outside of that, 22, no recoil, plus a 22 comp on the end, so definitely no recoil. Very fun.
Stand by.
One short. All right, well, pretty sure I put more input in the gun than the gun puts, than the recoil puts into the gun, so that's something to note, but super fun. All right, stand by. Put your hands on the fence there, big guy. Stand by. Couldn't have been any more perfect, man.
So obviously we're having a lot of fun with this today. This gun has no recoil. Doesn't even need a compensator, but you guys have been asking for 22 comps for a long time. We figured the Mark V would be the perfect gun to do that with. There's a lot of problems if you want to have fun with this gun. The magwell is really hard to do a good reload on. The mechanics of the gun is really strange and unlike pretty much any striker fired handgun. So there's a lot to fight in order to have some fun with it. Nevertheless, it is still fun to shoot. You can shoot it really fast. You can have a lot of fun with it on the range, and that's exactly what we're doing today. Our next 22 of choice is going to be the Smith & Wesson M&P 1522. This was a fun little gun to shoot. Honestly, we've already talked about its training purposes and if it's even a viable option for that. Where I think this gun shines is it's just a fun little gun to get into a rifle platform. I remember being 15 years old and wanting one of these so bad. It's a good little squirrel hunting gun. It's good for varmints, like I said with the other 22. You're just gonna be a lot more accurate with this over the handgun. Now you have a red dot sight, you have a more stable platform, so you can shoot this pretty accurately and pretty quickly, and it holds a lot more capacity. I think these magazines hold 25 rounds. So you're gonna have a much funner time hunting with small game for this. But that's not what we used it for today. Today we used it for plinking at the range, and it was really fun to whip this really light gun around and shoot steel. At the range, we had this new compensator on here, and one thing to note is Smith & Wesson threads their barrels really long. So with this Herrington Arms universal compensator, you can double up the O-rings, but the barrel will still protrude into that front port a little bit. Do not be alarmed, this will still work. It's obviously not ideal, but you know, it's a universal compensator that fits 20 different platforms. So it did work, but just know that it is gonna have a little bit of protrusion into that first port. And honestly, this thing was a lot of fun. Me and Jake both love shooting this. Some of you guys might be wondering why this laser system is on here. Jake shoots this for fun under night vision all the time. Usually he runs it suppressed. And the 22 is a kind of a great host for a suppressor, especially shooting night vision. So if you're looking to get a new shooter into night vision shooting, this might be a good little option. It's gonna be less intimidating, more fun for them right off the bat. So jumping into some of the specs on this rifle, Jake has an Aimpoint Pro on here with some backup M-Bus sights from Magpul. He's running a Surefire weapon light on here. It looks like it's the Scout. And then as he mentioned in his other 22 training video, this is an Amazon special laser that actually works. So that's kind of funny. I think this is everything that was lying around his house. He just threw on this gun to play with. And you know, that's kind of what the 22 system is for. It's for kind of having fun. Obviously, there's a more serious note for varmint hunting or getting new shooters into the shooting sport, but this gun was really fun to shoot at the range, and this might even be a better option for people that want to be prepared and use the 22 cartridge. Obviously, there's a lot of great options out there for cartridges, but it seems like the prepping world really revolves around 22, so this would be one of those great options. You know, semi-automatic, holds a lot of rounds, so it'd be kind of perfect. If you guys are more interested in the 22 platform and preparedness around 22, Dirty Civilian is a great channel that has done a lot of content with that. So now you guys know what this is for. Let's jump into the range portion.
All right, guys, so we're gonna run the same course of fire again. This is gonna be kind of like up close and nasty for rifles, so it'll be kind of fun. After this, we're gonna stretch our legs a little bit, keep somewhat of the same array, but apply more distance, probably like 50, 75 yards.
Yeah, I think one thing to keep in mind here is this compensator is a universal compensator. So, you know, it's not perfect for this setup. The barrel threads are protruding into the front port, but it's still gonna be effective. It's got about half of this port and all of that port. Again, this is a universal comp. There's a lot of 22 platforms. There's a lot of barrel threads. This works with half 28, and you can double up on O-rings to make it work. Again, this is a 22 comp, so, you know, it's for fun, it's to kind of look cool. It's going to help a little bit, but the 22 doesn't really need it. So today we're just having fun.
So we do have a video on training with 22. That is not what today is. We are not training with 22. Training looks a lot different than practice, and practice looks a lot different than just having fun at the range. I would say today is more of anything along the lines of fun and maybe practice if you want to stretch your legs into that. We are 100% not training with 22. Not saying that this comp can't be used for that, or if that's what your school of thought is, it can't be used for that, but I did want to address that because we did do a whole video about that. Yeah. So I feel like it's fair to bring up.
Shooter ready. Stand by.
Ow. We were doing so good. A little bit of malfunction there with 22. For those of you guys that shoot 22 enough, you'll know here and there, you kind of get some hiccups, especially with rimfire, magazine fed 22s. It happens. Sometimes some guns are finicky depending on what 22 ammo you're running. For the most part, this Winchester's been pretty good with the 7P, but as you guys have seen, we've had some failures to eject and then some stovepipes as well. All right, shooter ready?
Yep.
Are we good to go? All right, stand by.
Come on. Ended with a stovepipe. Yay!
All right, so the one thing I'm kind of noticing, and I think this is diluting back to the comp, is the gun is a little bit less springy. And what I mean is traditionally when I would shoot this gun, and we have a good amount of rounds to this thing, for the 22 training video, we put like 400 or 500 rounds through it. And I noticed like the reticle had a repeating pattern of like what would you see like on a airsoft gun. It would kind of like vibrate and be springy. It was not the behavior pattern of, let's just say, like a centerfire rifle with a red dot on it. It does not have that type of pattern. It was very like springy and shaky, and now with the comp on it, it just doesn't move. Has the repeatable pattern of like what feels like a centerfire rifle. It's just like one of the things I kind of noticed running that course of fire, especially shooting smaller targets at a longer distance. The reticle didn't have this like crazy shake to it. It was kind of like 12 and 6. So I guess take that for what it's worth.
Malfunction City, dude.
So one thing I want to point out, I guess you guys have probably seen a lot of it, is the malfunctions. I've done a few of these like hobby builds with 22s throughout my shooting career, and I've noticed certain 22 ammo is very finicky, especially depending on the grain weight and how hot it's loaded. My best results I've seen has been with the Remington Gold Bullet, the 36 grain one. I've noticed, especially with guns like this, if you're just shooting like a 40 grain lead 22, it seems to not feed well at all. And I know people who have had different results as well. Could that dilute back to a tolerance thing? Sure, but this is kind of like what you run into with 22. It's super cheap, it's rimfire ammo. Like, it's not common out of a box of 333 or 500 of these to have like 10 to 20 to 30 rounds that just don't fire at all. The QC spec is super low on 22, and you're gonna run into that with these rifles as well.
We're also seeing that one magazine is performing better than the other, so it's just 22 does not like to be run out of a semi-auto. This has been known for a long time. Seen this with other guns that are not the M&P, so just is what it is. You can have fun, but expect some issues. Just being honest with you guys, we do not see a huge difference with the compensator on versus off with the rifle and the pistol. Me and Jake both have plenty of experience shooting larger caliber guns, so we don't notice as big of a difference shooting those guns comped versus uncomped. But with the next rifle, I would say that this is where I started seeing a difference with the compensator on versus off. Shooting this precision rifle from a stationary position and really trying to keep track of my optic on target, I feel like I noticed a little bit of a difference when shooting this. A lot of guys typically run brakes here instead of a compensator, and we actually have a prototype 3-port brake that we threw on here and tested, and for some reason, the compensator did a better job. You did not get as much optic shake as you did with the 3-port brake. I'm gonna say that this compensator is predominantly made for people that have reached out. We've had hundreds of people reach out over the years wanting this compensator. We knew there wouldn't be a huge difference in recoil, but enough of you guys have asked that we finally made it. And while it's fun on these other guns, I think it really shines on the Ruger Precision Rifle 22. And honestly, it'd probably work really good on a 17 HMR as well. So for the third gun, as I already mentioned, we have a Ruger Precision Rifle in 22. This is a really fun little gun. I've always kind of liked the Ruger Precision system, and I really like that Ruger was able to use the standard 10-22 magazine for this. It gives you a lot of magazine options in different capacities. So this is one of the things I really like about this system. I am a complete rookie when it comes to long range shooting. I find it really interesting, and I think it's a really fun sport. And I personally am trying to get into this space and start playing with precision shooting. I have a couple of the larger caliber guns in 308 and 6.5 Creedmoor. It was kind of fun to step it down with this 22 and do some shooting. We obviously weren't able to shoot as far as I would like. It'd be really fun to test this out to a couple hundred yards. Unfortunately, our range only goes out to about 100, and that's where we were limited today. But shooting steel in a competition setting, kind of pushing the speed over accuracy, it was really fun. And I definitely noticed an increase in performance with this compensator that I honestly really wasn't expecting. 22 does not have a lot of velocity, it does not have a lot of pressure. So for really any port or compensator to work, there's just not the velocity there to make it effective. 22 already doesn't have a lot of recoil. So not only did it look cool, but it actually worked pretty well. On this setup, we have the Arkin 1x8. I did not want to spend a bunch of money on a scope for this rather cheap, affordable 22 build. This thing did great. The eye relief is a little bit shallow, so there was a little bit of issue there when switching between shooters. Me and Jake obviously have different setups, so we were constantly playing with the stock setup. I can't appreciate that Ruger did their stock setup this way. It has a really nice adjustable system with the cheek riser and the actual length of pull with the stock. So I think they kind of nailed it with this chassis system. And it definitely saved us when we were trying to switch guns between shooters. If you guys are interested in 22 content, definitely drop a comment down below. We've been wanting to do more of it. We just didn't know how you guys would receive it. So if you like it, drop a comment. Now let's go to the range section where me and Jake kind of play with this thing.
What we're doing is we're stretching out basically as much as we can at this range as we are able to. So we can get like 80, 90 yards out of this range if we're being pretty careful about shooting corner to corner. So I'd say our farthest steel target's probably gonna be 75, 80 yards. Closest one's probably gonna be like 65. So we have a 1:8 Archon optics on top of this Ruger 22 precision rifle. This thing is an absolute peach to shoot. So in true Herrington Arms fashion, I'll run it first, Corey run it second. Hopefully you guys should be able to hear our hits. There we go. There it is. Popper all the way to the left. There it is. Then 2 steel, or just the one twice. There. One more time. Okay, next one. Popper. Hit. Nice.
All right, guys, so we just got asked a lot for a 22 compensator. With some playing around today, we had a lot of fun. We had some issues. That's what to be expected with 22. After shooting a bunch today, I would say the Ruger Mark V was the funnest one to shoot for me. Had some issues with the bolt gun, had some issues with the rifle. Ultimately, it just kind of comes down to being fun. You know, this compensator isn't going to give you an extreme edge like our handgun compensators do. So we're just out here having fun, and I think we accomplished that today. If you guys want to drop a comment down below, where would you put a 22 compensator? Are you going to drop it on a bolt gun, a handgun? Definitely drop a comment down below. But if you guys like this video, we'd appreciate a like, subscribe. We'll see you next time.